So this is going to be my video, my response to the open tag Paddys potato peelers. It's actually fitting that this will be my first response to an open tag because I first learned about what an open tag was through his channel. That's actually how I discovered his channel. I think it was probably Metal Complex replying to an open tag, and that's how I discovered his channel. Which is a sweet channel. He's a funny guy. He's a great guy. He's a genuine guy. Loves his Rough Riders. Can't be mad at the guy. And but I am gonna do a couple of clarifications. Part of it is only take 10 minutes. So that's why I'm doing this right now, because I don't want to take more than 10 minutes to think about it. Because the whole scenario is you got 10 minutes to pick 5 items. I mentally chose those 5 items as I was watching his video, which is about 10 minutes. Then, as I took about 10 minutes to collect all the stuff, as I was going through it, I was collecting all my axes and saws, I realized, Paddy's not an idiot. He would have taken a saw and an axe and all that stuff too. But I think what he's suggesting is basically 5, if you will, personal items. Things that wouldn't be supplied by the rescue organization in this fictional hypothetical scenario, right? So I'm going to go ahead and rule out, a machete. Even a machete, you'd think that's the type of thing that a rescue organization might be providing. Certainly, I would take something. I was thinking of taking this. The Gerber saw axe combo so that you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, right? But I don't, again, I'm assuming, he's assuming that that's something that will be taken care of. So I'm going to leave all of that out. You even got this Gerber knife, fixed blade and mini hatchet combo. That's not going to be a part of it. You've got the wide variety of folding saws, right? So you've got, and with the replacement blades, that would be useful. Exchange a blade, axes, axe and quote unquote machete combo packs. They call it a machete. It's basically just a large fixed blade. It's getting a little difficult because I only have 1 functional hand. It's hurting a lot. Again, this is the Schrade version of the fold-out saw, which I can't open right now because I need 2 hands to do it. This is probably the best hatchet I have. Gerber has come under a lot of, criticism and such, but they were bought by Fiskars, who they make scissors and axes. So I would suspect that their axes are not half bad. This is the Kershaw folding saw. Then you've got this is the Gerber exchanger blade. You've got this kind of sliding saw from Gerber. These are the exchanger blade replacement blades. You've also got these kinds of wire saws, which get mixed reviews. Sometimes they immediately fail and get kinked up, and sometimes they actually work. I got this one from the Jimmy Slash, the Pithmas box. Then you've got this kind of this is a Bud K thing, but much more of a heavy duty type saw, which is basically like a bike chain, essentially. Is the kind of construction there. But again, they're of mixed reviews. Those are the kinds of things that one might bring. But again, I think the assumption in this scenario is that such things are taken care of. The other thing is a shovel. So you've got this marbles shovel, this Cold Steel ripoff Spetsnaz, this fake Bud K version, a marbles folding shovel, Gerber folding shovel. The one I was thinking of bringing, my original idea was to bring this, which has a sharpening stone, a kind of a makeshift axe, and a makeshift saw, all of which is this kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. Not the best shovel, not the best saw, not the best axe. So, you know, this is some sort of a chopper. This is kind of a chopper, sort of like a shovel, sort of not, sort of like a saw, sort of not, you know. It's of questionable value. It's one of those things where I think of that channel. What's that guy's name? The shooting channel. Paul Harrell. You know, the god of shooting channels. He does the comparison. He's like, okay, well, some people say, 22, it's better than nothing. So he's like, let's put that to the test. First, nothing. He just stands there, you know. He's like, okay, so it was better than nothing. So, you know, a saw that doesn't really saw, is it better than nothing? It's a tough call, you know. It's a really tough call. So I'm ruling those out. What else am I going to rule out? I'm also going to rule out waterproof gear. So I'm assuming that, you know, he's saying, oh, you come with waterproof gear. So I'm assuming that, you know, that includes, you know, ponchos, bivvies, emergency blankets. Even, I'm going to rule out even, you know, dry wet bags, because he said you have a nice waterproof backpack. And I'm even going to rule out towels. I think quick drying microfiber towels are absolutely important. It's definitely a survival issue. If you cannot keep and stay dry, you run the risk of death. Absolutely. Furthermore, I'm going to rule out the idea of fire starters, right? So, you know, ferro rods, magnesium blocks, those forever matches, you know, these bootlaces which are have the ferro rod and striker on it. Including, you know, another fire starter, you know, including, you know, lighters. We're just going to say, okay, fire is not an issue. We can get fire. So I don't think he meant that. I don't think he also meant, you know, hygiene stuff. He didn't mean cordage. That was all going to be part of the gear that the rescue organization provides. He did mention you'd have water. This might be something that, well, if it does take longer than a week and we don't have water, but he also mentioned hurricane. That's a lot of fresh water laying around, so maybe that's not the issue, right? Tactical pen, in other words, writing instruments, pieces of paper, pens, markers. You know, markers are important. But once again, that's something that you'd think a rescue organization would provide. So, you know, these kinds of straws, these filter systems. So we're going to say that kind of gear is the type of gear that a rescue organization would provide. Again, a whistle. You can imagine that might be part of standard issue gear that a rescue organization would provide you. You know, there's even these fixed blade knives that you know, that have the emergency whistle attached to the, right? So there's those kinds of things. But once again, we're going to say that signaling equipment, even little, you know, signaling mirrors and, you know, whistles and things, you can imagine they might literally issue these kinds of things to rescue crew, okay? Yet in that exact same scenario, I don't think it's unrealistic that they literally would not standard issue, you know, your most important tool, which is a knife, which makes sense in his scenario, that you really, you know, would be expected to bring your own knife. Certainly your own pocket knife. You know, you're not soldiers after all. They're not going to go down the line and be like, here's your fixed blade, here's your pocket knife. That it really is something that you probably might need to have to bring yourself. So, so I think I ruled out, is that all I wanted to rule out? Yeah. So now we can go into the actual selection process. So I haven't actually decided, because again, I do really want to take that 10 minutes and just kind of rush through. So I'll probably just make a decision now, as I'm filming this, so that I can take a legitimate 10 minutes as he suggested. So let's get the first obvious ones out of the way. So I'll put the final choices here. So the first choice is the only real multi-tool that I have. I'm not saying that Gerber multi-tools are better than Leatherman is better than whichever. This is just kind of what I have. This is the Gerber Center Drive. It's that quick release. I'm not sure if that's how you do it. I really don't, because I haven't really used this. I have a large collection of super duper cheap, like $5, $10, $15, $20 multi-tools all day long, and those are the ones I carry around with me, because the last thing I want to do is lose $100 multi-tool, because I lose things. I'm very good at losing things. Like, this is my next upgrade. The multi-tool I currently use is the one from Caterpillar. They make a tiny one that's identical to this Lansky. I mean, this is literally my EDC multi-tool, and I use it all the time. I use the wire cutters. I've used a lot of the tools in this little multi-tool, and this is literally identical to the Caterpillar one. I held it up side by side, and they really are literally the same. This is also another kind of multi-tool if you wanted to do that. This is the DIY shuffle. So it's the shuffle, except it's got the bit driver and some bits, and that you can see how that might be useful. That's not what I'm thinking of, so for a multi-tool, this will more than suffice. So that was one of his items. The other obvious choice that he made, and that any of us would make, is the fixed blade option, right? So this is kind of my biggest, baddest, meanest one, the Schrade Jessica X. Unfortunately, this is the controversial one where they switched the Scandi grind into a hollow and apparently became a lot weaker. I'm not going to say it's necessarily a bad thing insofar as it might have lost some toughness, but certainly hollow grinds make them great slicers. This would probably be my first choice in terms of fixed blade. Of course, other fixed blade options would be your Mora knives, which are very cheap but very reliable. Bright colors, easy to see and not lose. That might be an option. The other two that I would consider is the Gerber Strong Arm, which has a very good reputation, the 420HC, and the SK5, the SRK, the Search Rescue knife from Cold Steel, out of SK5 Steel. These are very highly regarded, been tested over and over and over again, and have always stood the test of time. So there's that possibility. In terms of fixed blade, another possibility of fixed blade is plastic knives. 100% waterproof, don't have to worry about any maintenance, but you can't sharpen these, right? It does have an edge, but it's really more of a self-defense or assassin's tool, so that might not be the thing. This is one of those sort of survival kits. It's got diamond rod there. I think this is a ferro rod. You attach it to your belt. This is a good little survival thing. That's a possibility for a fixed blade. What I decided to go with is the Schrade. I don't remember what the name of this one, the designation is, but comes with these pellets. What do you call them? These are not pellets. My hand is killing me. Whatever these marbles, these BBs or whatever, right? Inside here, you've got your slingshot. So that's something he didn't mention, and that's definitely not something you can expect, but has tons of options, especially in terms of hunting small game, if you do in fact run out of food or whatever. So the bands and the thing are in there, plus you've got your fixed blade here. Probably not the best fixed blade in the world, but you may not need the best. Good enough might work for you for fire steel. Might work for you for the short term that you're there. So let's just say that this knife will be sufficient for the purposes of the one to slightly more time that you need. It's got a hollow grind. It's the SCHF39, so it's got like a rubber overlay over like probably ABS or something. It's got a choil, so you know you can do more fine work. So that would be my fixed blade, because it gives me the option of also hunting small game and whatever, more long distance reach. So we're going to do that instead of the Jessica X. And next, in terms of folders, I would think hard use folder, and then so some of the other options for, you know, plastic knives. This is more of a self-defense K-bar, which is awesome. These kinds of dart things, this one you can attach to your ankle or your arm. This is sort of more of a neck knife, this dart, but again, this is a self-defense thing. And some people will suggest that in times of natural disaster you want to do a self-defense thing. I wanted to mention this because, you know, if I was concerned about self-defense and having a self-defense weapon that's corrosion proof, it would be this, okay? You know, it's part of the TDI line, except it's the plastic one. Now, this will not rust, corrode, it'll last anything. I understand that there's a book written by a lady that was published just at the time of Haiti and Katrina and all that. And her thesis and the book was something like, you know, in times of disaster we all come together, something like that. It's an awkward title, but basically what she did was did a study of natural disasters, and she found very little exceptions of what we call SHTF situations, right? Where yeah, SHTF, and then all of a sudden it's what's that other one? The World Without Laws or whatever, the WRL or whatever it is. There isn't actual evidence of that. The few cases that might happen get puffed up by the media because it's sensationalism. If it bleeds, it leads, but is not representative of anything. That in fact, under times of duress, what they found was that rich and poor alike, black and white, you name it, they'll actually come together in order to survive. That's part of our natural evolution, I think, is that we do in fact come together. So I don't think that self-defense from other humans and like this very Western, very colonial, imperialistic imagination of, well, they're going to come and steal our stuff. It's like, well, that might be more a projection of American imperialism than it is of reality of survival situations. So I mention that because these would be in that kind of situation, but I don't think that is the issue. I don't think. I mean, these plastic knives are my shower knives. I keep these in the bathroom. Not because I think I'm going to need it, but because I think it's fun, and knives are fun, and knives are cool. Okay, so next will be, so I've got 1, 2, the third thing will be a folding knife. So the folding knife I showed, you know, the one possibility is the Ruger Heavy and Go, the CRKT Heavy and Go. It's a heavy use folder, it's beefy, it's meaty, it's tough, and where did I put it? Oh, here. You know, it comes in this sheath, but it doesn't have a pocket clip. It's got these aggressive looking VEF serrations, you know, good action and everything. Obviously it'll last a hurricane, it'll survive a hurricane, but it doesn't have a pocket clip. You always do have to have this sheath. I'm gonna go ahead and rule this out, and no one should be disappointed in, you know, a cold steel. This is the Pocket Bushman with the ram lock. You know, very inexpensive, very sturdy, very strong. This would be, I mean, you could do all kinds of stuff with this. You could probably baton with it, feather stick, everything. You know, I haven't tried any of it, of course, but this is a tough knife. Again, not necessarily, and I'll tell you why. Maybe something small, like the Cold Steel Tough Light. You know, very useful, very small, very portable. Not a great fidget factor, and that's kind of what we're going to get down to. The Voyager XL. I just love this knife. I absolutely love this knife because it's gigantic and obnoxiously huge, you know. this is part of, yeah, this is part of the problem. Last thing you want to do is injure yourself. So there's that. I love the Black Talon 2, fully serrated against. This is meant to be more of a self-defense knife. Although I did find, as I was using it to open boxes, it does have some good utility. I won't lie, it absolutely does. I have the new Recon one, but this is the old one with the Axis style lock. This is something I would consider. So I would say it's for folders. I would say it's between the Ultra Lock Recon one and the 8015. And so the deciding factor for me would be, you know, I'm going to say that they're both more or less equal in terms of toughness. I'm not going to say any one is tougher than the other. What I am going to say is, me being me, I'm going to say that fidget factor itself is going to be important, because I'm going to be nervous. I'm going to want to fidget. There is going to be lots of downtime as well, and I am going to want to flick around and fidget, and that is going to be important. So it kind of comes down to which one is my favorite fidget knife, and I haven't decided yet. So you know what, I'm going to go with I mean, this is literally, I'm making this decision now just by flipping it. This is more fidgety. This is definitely more fidgety. Like, I love playing with that Axis lock. That's a lot more fidget friendly. As much as this for a long time was one of my favorite fidget knives, it's not nearly as fidget friendly. It's pretty fidget friendly, but not nearly as fidget friendly as an Axis, just a straightforward Axis lock. That's, you know, that's just a lot of fun, you know. And as much as I'm going to do a knife myths on people who hate partially serrated, that's very useful. So this gives you a serration, it gives you compound grinds, multiple points. So I'm going to say that this is my third item, as so my multi-tool, slingshot, fixed blade, folding knife. So that's 1, 2, 3. Now my fourth item, I'm going to, another fixed blade I considered was the Mora knife. I want to consider maybe bringing a neck knife. This is the Mora Eldris, because I think that I would do well with a neck knife, because I like neck knives. You always have a neck knife on you. You can basically kind of sleep with it. I'm EDCing neck knives at home during the pandemic because, you know, I'm not even wearing pants half the time. So, you know, I don't have pockets. I'm not going to lay around with something, but I do wear these tiny, now I got this brand new, the Carbine, the CRKT. This is kind of my new EDC neck knife. So this is what I'm EDCing today. So that was one of the considerations. So I haven't ruled that out yet necessarily, but I should move on. Another consideration is scissors. Scissors are technically two chisel ground knives pinned together. So this is something I'm going to consider. Now, one of the items he mentioned was a sharpener. So there's the field sharpener, and there's also the pivot knife sharpener. Now, both of these are supposed to be able to do convex grinds, so like tools, like axes. So I think this one is a little bit more robust, and it's still portable. So I'm going to include that as my sharpener, which I think was smart of him to include that. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So for my fifth item, it could be a neck knife, it could be a pair of scissors, it could be a pry bar. Now, this is something I would consider. This is sort of a survival thing. It's got a diamond sharpener, a folding saw. This is from Tops, and a pry bar. I'm gonna say something like a pry bar is a lot like an axe or a knife. I'm gonna say it's something that would be included. So, you know, you've got your pry bars, right? And in an emergency situation, what the fuck, you know? Pry with your goddamn knife, for God's sakes. I know people are like, don't ever pry with your knife. So what the fuck else are you gonna do? The other consideration I thought of was binoculars. But once again, binoculars, monoculars, I can imagine that that's something that would be part of the equipment that would get dumped with the helicopter. You know, lots of big commercial type gear. Finally, the other thing, more long-term, arrowhead, spearhead. So this is something I would consider as well. So these are the things I'm considering for the final item. Spearhead, scissor, neck knife, probably not a pry bar, probably not binoculars. And then one final thing I want to introduce is the possibility of what I'm going to call morale. I think that we oftentimes overlook the notion of morale. So things like a pillow, right? You can look up people that did, you know, like the Appalachian Trail and stuff like that. One of the things that they say that make the list of underrated things and things they didn't think of bringing was a proper travel camping pillow, because getting a good night's sleep is just about as important as anything else, is good nutrition, water, etc. So getting a good night's sleep, I call that morale points, if you will. Morale points. This represents, you know, glow in the dark. Glow in the dark is fun. There might be kids. You might need to entertain the kids that are survivors. So, you know, morale. Again, morale. Having glow sticks at night, you know, when you don't want to waste your, you know, your other lights. So, you know, glow stick, it's morale. Microscope. These are kinds of other considerations for that fifth. Other morale points is what I'm calling culinary, I suppose. Things like utensils, you know, snack packs, straws, camp knives, you know, hobo knife. But once again, let's say that mess hall stuff is all included, you know. The Coleman travel cutting board, I'm going to say all that is not part of our consideration. Now, the final thing to consider is, okay, what about he brought a traditional knife. What about wood whittler? You know, in your downtime, maybe you can use a whittling knife to whittle away at wood. But you could also whittle tools, right? Whittle spoons, cups, bowls, forks. You can whittle stuff out of, you know, tent stakes. You can whittle them out. So that's another possibility. So neck knife, whittler, those are some of the alternative things. Now, finally, this is a chess. This is a travel chessboard. So travel chess, right? Deck of cards with pocket knives, deck of cards with antique lures, you know, Blade HQ Gerber ones, K-Bar, first aid survival cards, you know. So a deck of cards, you're going to have lots of downtime, especially at night before you you know, crash out and fall asleep. So I'm talking about morale points, you know, and that may or may not be included. So I'm going to say I suck at chess. So, and not everyone knows how to play chess, and, you know, chess is only for two people. So what I'm going to say is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is my fifth item. I'm going to say a deck of cards, because that's going to be morale points. And in survival situations, really, mental survival is a huge underrated, understood part of it. If you look at the people who survive concentration camps, prison camps of war, they say that the prisoners of war in the, you know, like the Japanese prison camps, which were hell and, you know, basically death factories, they would say that for example, the officers who felt it was their need to suit up every day and wear their, you know, they said that the ones that didn't survive were the ones that stopped shaving and stopped keeping themselves up. But the people who still showed up for duty every day and you know, played the role of soldier, those are the ones that survived. You know, everyone got the same diarrhea. Everyone was getting diseases. Everyone was, you know, had dysentery. Everyone was malnourished, dehydrated. But the mental toughness is what really gets you through it. I mean, I was an athlete. I was a fighter. Mental toughness, you know, my coach would always say is 80% of the game. He'd say 80% of your fitness is mental. Your physical will catch up real fast, but mentally is where you're at. So I'm going to say that my fifth and final item, I'm going to go ahead and burn a whole item on, you know, you could also think of this as a morale booster, you know, wood whittling. But I'm going to say a deck of cards is going to be my fifth one, because that's something that many people can play together. You can play, you know, a gin rummy type game, any of those rummy type games, war. I mean, you know, you can. There's a way of playing Uno with regular cards. You assign the face cards with the, you know, with the Uno things. So yeah, so that's gonna be it. My multi-tool, my fixed blade, which is gonna double as a slingshot, my cold steel ultralock fidget factor hard use folder, the field sharpener to maintain all my tools, and finally the deck of cards. So hopefully Paddy will confirm that this is in fact the parameters he was mentioning, that we don't need an axe, a, you know, saw, and a shovel. Otherwise, you know, my fifth item would be this one, right, which is the shovel saw axe combo, right? That would be my fifth item. All right, well, thanks, and you guys should do your own too, and I don't know, shout me out. Thanks.